He was scrolling through his phone, completely unaware, until reality slammed into his chest like a freight train. One call, one confession, one photo, unfamiliar hands wrapped around the woman he believed would be his forever. Everything that once felt solid, the home, the love, even his own sense of self, shattered in an instant. But that was only the beginning. What followed was a spiral of lies, betrayal, secret apartments, hidden bank accounts, and a truth that stole the air from his lungs. A man who had always lived for order and honesty was suddenly swept into a whirlwind of revelations, each one cutting deeper than the last. And yet, in the midst of that darkness, there was an ironic glimmer, an unexpected alliance between two betrayed hearts, bound to rise through the ashes of broken love and maybe, just maybe, discover something more. When everything collapsed, he didn't fall. He started digging, and the deeper he went, the fewer paths there were to turn back. Hello, my friend. I'm so glad you stopped by my channel. If it's your first time here, don't forget to subscribe and like this video, as every like truly inspires me. Please tell me which city and country you watched this video from. Now let's get started. Jordan Carter sat on the couch, engrossed in his phone, when his wife, Kimberly, unexpectedly delivered devastating news. A private investigator had uncovered a truth he never imagined. Kimberly had been lying about her whereabouts and was, in fact, heading to Honolulu with her lover. As Jordan absorbed this revelation, he couldn't help but reflect on how naive he had been. He realized, with a heavy heart, that a decade of his life had been dedicated to a relationship built on deceit. Sipping his coffee, he leaned back, mentally retracing their years together. Their journey began over 13 years ago in college, where both were studying for business degrees. What initially seemed like a simple romance blossomed into a full-fledged relationship, culminating in marriage. After graduation, Jordan joined his father's tire business, learning every facet of the company. Eventually, he rose to head the accounting department. His long-term aspiration was to one day take over the business and succeed Mike Allen, the CFO who was nearing retirement. Kimberly, on the other hand, built a flourishing career as a realtor, thriving even during difficult market conditions. Together, they enjoyed a comfortable life, living in a beautiful home, driving new cars, and seemingly secure in their marriage. Although they had made the decision not to have children, Jordan saw this as a blessing. Kimberly had initially expressed concerns about fertility, leading her to opt for a tubal ligation. When Jordan suggested adoption, she refused. Recently, however, her increasingly frequent social outings, often lasting until late at night, had begun to raise his suspicions. When Jordan voiced his concerns, Kimberly dismissed them as nothing more than stress from work. One evening, after returning home late, smelling of cigarettes and looking disheveled, Jordan asked, "Where have you been?" "Just out with some friends, having a few drinks," she responded defensively. "It's none of your business, Jordan. I can take care of myself." Jordan was caught off guard by her tone. It was unlike her. Realizing she had startled him, she softened. "I'm sorry, Jordan. It's just the stress from work," he replied. "You've handled stress before, and it hasn't affected us. What's different now?" "It's tougher than ever," she explained. "The competition is fierce, and the pressure's overwhelming." Jordan nodded. "I understand, but don't take it out on me. I'm here for you," he reassured her. She hugged him, offering an apology. "You're right. I'm sorry." "Please freshen up," Jordan added. "You smell like smoke." Kimberly apologized, heading for a shower. "It was smoky at the club," she explained. By the time she joined him in bed, Jordan had already fallen asleep. Over time, their intimacy had waned. What had once been frequent was now rare. Her interest in him seemed to diminish, and Jordan started noticing inconsistencies in her stories, like the time she claimed to be at work when she wasn't. He didn't confront her directly, afraid of her unpredictable reactions, but he began to wonder just how many other lies she had told. Lying awake beside her, his mind raced. What's bothering you, Jordan? Kimberly asked softly. I'm worried, he confessed. About what? She probed. Us, he said. It feels like we're drifting apart. Do you still love me? Of course, sweetheart, she said, pulling him into an embrace. You know I do. Jordan hesitated, then replied, I honestly don't know. It's been a while since you've said it, and we don't seem as close anymore. You're out more than you're home. I'm sorry, she apologized. Work's been overwhelming. But I do love you. Please trust me. Can you show me more? Jordan asked quietly. Of course, baby, she said, kissing him. That night, they made love, and for a moment, Jordan's doubts were eased. But deep down, the uncertainty lingered. A month later, the cycle repeated. Jordan's suspicions only grew stronger. One day, his friend Raymond urgently called him. Let's meet up for a beer, Jordan suggested. I can't explain it all over the phone, Raymond insisted. They met at a bar, where Raymond delivered shocking news. I saw your wife today, Raymond began. Jordan shrugged. Yeah, she's showing houses for her real estate job. No, I'm sure of it, Raymond corrected. But I didn't realize real estate required this kind of closeness. Seriously? Jordan asked, his disbelief evident. I wish I were kidding, Raymond sighed. I saw Kimberly with another man. They were holding hands and kissing. Jordan's world seemed to stop. That can't be right, he murmured, shaking his head. Are you sure it was Kimberly? Raymond pulled out his phone, showing him a photo that left no room for doubt. Damn, Jordan muttered, his mind spinning. Can you send me that picture? Sure, Raymond replied, sending it over. What's your plan now? I don't know, Jordan admitted, feeling lost. This came out of nowhere. My friend's a private investigator, Raymond offered. Want me to connect you? Please, Jordan said, desperate for answers. After parting ways with Raymond, Jordan returned home to find Kimberly already there. You're back early, he remarked, surprised to see her. At just the right moment, she flashed him a smile. Where have you been? She inquired. I was with Raymond having a drink, he responded. Is everything okay with him? She asked. Not really, Jordan admitted. His wife's been unfaithful, he continued. Oh? Kimberly pretended to be surprised. Yeah, Jordan said, letting out a deep breath. It's a mess. Honestly, I'm just relieved we don't have to deal with that. Kimberly's reaction didn't escape Jordan's notice. It would destroy me if you ever betrayed me, he said, watching her wince just slightly. I would never do that, she quickly reassured him, wrapping her arms around him. I love you too much. I'm glad to hear that, he responded, planting a soft kiss on her lips. Why are you home so early? Jordan asked. Our company convention is this weekend, Kimberly explained. I wanted to pack ahead and spend some time with you before we're apart. Where's it being held? He asked. Las Vegas, at the Westgate Resort, she replied. We're leaving Friday after lunch. Another award this year? Jordan asked, knowing her track record of success. I think so, she said. They shared another kiss, and Jordan suggested celebrating their anniversary in Vegas. She declined, citing work responsibilities. A bit disappointed, he agreed that they would celebrate at a later time. The following day, Jordan contacted Raymond for a recommendation for a private investigator. By lunchtime, he had arranged to meet with the investigator. Good morning, Mr. Carter, the investigator greeted him from his cluttered office. Pleased to meet you, Jordan said, shaking his hand. Call me Jerry. What's the situation? Jordan quickly explained Kimberly's upcoming trip to Vegas. Vegas, huh? Jerry mused. Do you suspect she's up to something there? Could be, Jordan said. I have some contacts there who owe me favors, Jerry offered. We can keep an eye on her, even set up surveillance if you provide a room number, Jerry suggested. It'll cost a little extra. I figured as much, Jordan replied, but I need to know the truth. Jerry handed him a small digital audio recorder. It's simple to use, he explained. Just slide it under her car seat. It's voice activated. You can retrieve it later. She usually parks at the airport, Jordan said. Perfect, Jerry nodded. We'll take care of it. If she slips up, we'll have proof, Jerry added, handing Jordan a number. Here's my direct line for updates. Thanks, Jordan said, accepting the number. He then wrote a check from his personal account, not their joint one, as they had separate finances and had agreed to allocate up to 10% of their earnings for personal expenses. Jordan typically used his share for clothing and gifts for Kimberly and was saving for a cruise. That night, as Kimberly packed for her trip, Jordan offered to help, but noticed she was packing more than usual. His curiosity piqued. He peeked inside her luggage and found birth control pills, despite her previous claim of having undergone a tubal ligation. He quietly took photos of her clothes, including club outfits and a micro bikini he had never seen her wear. He carefully placed the audio recorder under her car seat and activated it before locking the car. He wondered, with a hint of sadness, if this might be the last time, feeling that the connection between them was starting to fray. The next morning, Kimberly shared her hotel room number and promised to call him every night. "Love you," she said, kissing him. "Love you too," he replied, watching her drive away. At work, he called Jerry and provided the room number. "Got it," Jerry said, acknowledging the details. "Thanks." Later, Kimberly called from the airport to say she would check in once she was settled. "Love you," she repeated. "Love you too, baby," Jordan said, masking his unease. When his father noticed his distress, he approached. Jordan confided in him. "That's tough, son," his father said sympathetically. "I never would have thought." "Neither did I, Dad," Jordan agreed. "If you need anything, we're here for you," his father said. "Thanks, Dad," Jordan replied gratefully. After leaving work early, Jordan retrieved the audio recorder from Kimberly's car at the airport. The car was neat, but doubt still gnawed at him. On the drive home, Kimberly called. "Hey, I just got here," she said. "Thanks for letting me know," Jordan replied. "Just getting settled," she continued. "I'll call you tonight." "Love you." "Love you too," Jordan responded. At home, he connected the audio recorder, hoping it would bring nothing alarming. At first, all he could hear was road noise and her radio, but halfway through his worst fears started to unfold. He connected the recorder to Bluetooth and listened closely. "Hey, baby," a man's voice greeted her. "Hello, stallion," she replied flirtatiously. "A stud muffin?" Jordan thought to himself in disbelief. "Who's this guy?" "Last week was amazing," the man said. "I'm glad you enjoyed it," she giggled. "Got plans for next week?" he asked. "Already arranged," she replied. "Did you tell your husband?" She hadn't done it yet, she confessed. "Everything is under control," she assured. "Has he figured anything out?" the man inquired. "No, not at all," she replied, giving him a sense of comfort. "He's completely unaware," she stated with confidence. "I hope you're right," he responded. "He'll believe whatever I tell him," she said with an air of self-assurance. "All right," he said, accepting the situation. "We're almost at the airport," she added casually. "See you later at the hotel tonight, okay?" she asked softly. "I can't wait," he answered. "Goodbye, love," she whispered. "Bye-bye," she said, hanging up. Jordan was left frozen, staring at the tape recorder in utter disbelief. He replayed the recording, needing to confirm he hadn't misheard anything. It wasn't just an affair. She had planned their anniversary week without him, deliberately leaving him out. His anger boiled over as he cursed himself, wondering how long this deception had been going on and who was the man behind it. Grabbing a beer, he sank into his chair, his mind swirling with the shocking realization. Had he missed any obvious signs? He began to question everything she might be hiding. He had always respected her privacy, but now his suspicions drove him to act. Knowing where she kept the spare key, he retrieved it from the jewelry box and made his way to her office, tucked away in the spare bedroom. His heart raced with betrayal as he rifled through her desk, determined to uncover the truth. What he found was a tangled web of lies. Kimberly had been deceiving him throughout their marriage. To his horror, he discovered her personal account held more than $25,000, far exceeding their agreed-upon savings limit. As he dug deeper into her expenditures, he found luxury purchases, such as a high-end men's Rolex, possibly a gift for her lover. Other receipts revealed expensive clothing and visits to Planned Parenthood for abortions, all paid in cash. His mind raced, trying to piece everything together. Who was the father of those terminated pregnancies? Why had she been so diligent with birth control? A recent receipt for Plan B pills added another disturbing layer to the mystery. But that wasn't all. He also found a recent receipt for a large down payment on an apartment in a wealthy neighborhood. Jordan couldn't help but wonder if this was her secret hideaway with her lover, or maybe an escape plan in case she ever decided to leave him. Other receipts hinted at ongoing utility payments and new furniture purchases. Was one of the keys he had found for this new apartment? Determined to dig deeper, he powered on her computer. Conveniently, the passwords were written right beneath the keyboard, allowing him easy access to her private files. Logging into her email account, he found her credentials saved, a clear sign of her trust in the secrecy of her actions. To his horror, he discovered email exchanges with Gavin Whitaker, outlining their sexual encounters dating back nearly a year. Around the same time, Jordan had started noticing odd changes in her behavior. They had initially met in hotel rooms, but later their meetings took place in properties Kimberly was selling. One email from 6 months ago gave Jordan the answer he had been wondering about for a while. "Did you take care of that little issue?" Gavin had asked. "Yes," Kimberly had replied. "I went, but I didn't take anything today." "It's a shame you didn't keep the baby," Gavin commented. "You could have passed it off as Jordan's." "I can't do that," Kimberly had explained. "He thinks I can't have children. He would figure out it wasn't his." Jordan froze, the realization hitting him hard. This was the first clear lie he had caught her in. Damn, he thought bitterly. She's been lying this whole time. As he continued reading, another exchange caught his attention. Gavin suggested they make love in Kimberly's marital bed, but she refused. "I won't betray Jordan like that," she insisted. "That idiot has no idea," Gavin had replied. "I won't do it," she had repeated. "What if you had your own place?" Gavin had proposed. "You could afford it with your earnings, and Jordan would never suspect anything." "Maybe you're onto something," Kimberly had replied. "I have my own account, and Jordan never questions it. I'll start looking." That was 3 months ago. The down payment receipt for the new place was only a month old. "I got a condo," Kimberly had told Gavin. "I made the down payment, and I'm getting furniture next week. Jordan doesn't suspect a thing." "Perfect," Gavin had responded. "We'll have so much fun over there." Jordan's head spun with disbelief. He continued reading, finding another conversation where Gavin questioned, "Why stay with your husband? Why not leave and get your own place?" Kimberly had responded, "Believe it or not, I care for him. He's just a cocky accountant working at a tire store chain," she added. "But I have feelings for him, and he treats me well. I got the condo so we could meet without the risk of being seen at hotels. Besides, you're still married. Just say the word, and I'll dump Candace." "She's a headache," Gavin replied. "Let's see after the conference," Kimberly had said. "What happens after the conference?" Gavin had asked. Jordan was consumed by fury, but he knew he needed to gather all the evidence he could. He began printing out the emails and making copies of the receipts. Just as he finished, Kimberly's number appeared on his phone. "Hello?" he answered, his voice tense. "It's me, baby," Kimberly greeted him. "Are you okay? You sound off." "I've got a bad headache," he lied, not wanting to reveal his suspicions. "I'm just settling in for the night," she told him. "Take something for that headache and rest," she said sweetly. "Love you, and I miss you," she added, before ending the call. Jordan sat in stunned silence, overwhelmed by the truth of everything he had uncovered. He whispered a quiet, "Yeah, me too," before disconnecting the call. As the line went dead, a thought gnawed at him. Did she catch the lack of tenderness in his words? His insides churned with seething anger, a rage that he fought to contain. His resolve to uncover the truth about Gavin grew unyielding, propelling him to thoroughly explore Kimberly's company website. There, he found what he was looking for: Gavin Whitaker, the regional manager. It was undeniable. Kimberly was indeed involved with him. He printed the page and added it to his ever-growing pile of evidence. The frustration inside him bubbled over, and for a fleeting moment, he contemplated breaking into her apartment to find more. He checked her address, but the thought of her security system made him hesitate. Rifling through her papers, he stumbled upon a document labeled "Alarm System." Of course, she would have noted it down, he thought bitterly. Closing the laptop with a snap, he stood up and grabbed a pair of latex gloves from the garage to avoid leaving any trace. Arriving at her apartment complex, he parked in her spot and approached her door. After slipping the gloves on, he retrieved a key from her jewelry box. The door creaked open easily, and he stepped inside. Spotting the alarm remote, he entered the code he had previously discovered and deactivated the system. With the lights now on, he walked through the apartment, taking in her choice of decor. She had always had an eye for style, he reflected. But it was a shame her loyalty couldn't match her taste in furniture. As expected, there were no signs of him in sight. This was clearly her retreat, her personal sanctuary away from their shared life. He moved toward the kitchen, where a few dishes and utensils were carelessly scattered. The fridge was nearly empty, and the pantry offered little. Though lacking the personal touches of their home, the apartment was tastefully furnished, with flower-themed artwork adorning the walls and a large flat-screen TV as the centerpiece. He continued into the bedroom, which was similarly well-appointed, with lace curtains draping elegantly over the windows. Beneath them stood an electric heater, an obvious fire risk. As he rummaged through drawers, he found unfamiliar items of underwear, and a pair of men's undergarments caught his eye, intensifying his suspicion that Gavin was here. He snapped a few photos with his phone. In the nightstand, a card from Gavin confirmed what he already knew. The card read, "Thanks for the watch. Looking forward to your housewarming. Love, Gavin." A wave of fury washed over him. He could almost picture the confrontation with Gavin in his mind. The walk-in closet contained both men's and women's clothing. In the master bathroom, 2 toothbrushes rested side by side on the sink, and towels with different monograms lay next to the shower. He took more photos, his mind racing with the implications. In the second bedroom, a simple desk and chair were the only furnishings, with a network cable on the desk, likely meant for her laptop. Among the pile of letters addressed to her, mostly from utility companies, he made sure her name and address were clearly visible in the photos. The same lace curtains from the bedroom adorned the windows here too, hanging over the electric heater. As he surveyed the room, he noticed more potential fire hazards, missing smoke detectors in the bedrooms, and an outdated one in the kitchen. He wondered if it even had a working battery. Satisfied with his findings, he turned off the lights, reactivated the security system, and made sure the door was locked before leaving. Back in his car, his mind raced with plans for the next steps. Divorce seemed inevitable. Trust, once shattered, could never be rebuilt, no matter what she did to make it right. Even if she severed ties with Gavin and abandoned the apartment, their marriage was beyond salvaging. He was aware that men typically didn't fare well in divorce proceedings, but he hoped her higher income would shield him from crippling alimony payments. Consulting a lawyer was likely his next move. He also hoped that since she owned the apartment outright, he wouldn't be forced to part with their home or share in the proceeds if it was sold. The knowledge that she had secretly purchased the apartment behind his back stung deeply. There were no children involved, so custody wasn't a concern, but he still craved retribution for the betrayal. Violence was out of the question. He had no desire to end up behind bars. Arriving home, he flipped through the phone book and found an ad for Gavin Whitaker. He prayed this was the same man. When he dialed the number, a woman's voice answered, "Whitaker Residence. Is this Mrs. Whitaker?" he asked. "Yes, it is," she replied. "Who am I speaking with?" "Jordan Carter," he said, introducing himself. "Your husband is the regional manager for Acme Real Estate, right?" "Yes," she confirmed. "But he's away at a conference this weekend and will be visiting other offices next week. You'll need to contact the regional office to leave him a message." "Actually, Mrs. Whitaker," Jordan continued, "I need to speak with you directly." "Oh?" she replied, her curiosity piqued. "I'm afraid I have some bad news," he said, his voice icy. "My wife is having an affair with your husband." "Are you sure?" she asked, her voice steady but tinged with disbelief. "Absolutely," Jordan affirmed. "And I have the evidence to prove it." "Do you have solid proof?" she pressed. "I can show you where they meet if you'd like," he offered. There was a brief silence, followed by a sigh. "Would tomorrow work for you?" she asked. "Certainly," Jordan responded. "What time would be convenient?" "How about 1 p.m., she suggested. Jordan provided her with Kimberly's apartment address and directions before saying, "I'll see you then." He hung up with a satisfied grin, then sat down at his desk and began making a list of the next steps. The first item on Jordan's list was to change the locks, ensuring it was done before he met Gavin's wife at Kimberly's apartment. Although the temptation to escape into alcohol crossed his mind, he quickly dismissed it. Instead, he grabbed a cold slice of pizza and sat down to figure out his next move. Once he felt prepared, he climbed the stairs and went to bed. The next morning, he made his way to the local hardware store to pick up the necessary items to replace the locks and get a duplicate key for the apartment. By midday, the locks were completely replaced. After a quick shower, Jordan gathered his audio recorder and printed emails from Kimberly's account. He then headed to her apartment to meet Gavin's wife. Upon arriving, he noticed Kimberly's car and saw a striking woman with dark hair sitting in a nearby Toyota Corolla. Jordan walked over, knocked on the window, and asked, "Are you Candace Whitaker?" She nodded, confirming her identity, and he opened the door for her. "I'm Jordan Carter," he introduced himself, offering her latex gloves. "Let's head inside. I'll show you where they've been hiding." With the spare key in hand, Jordan unlocked the door and deactivated the security system before leading her inside. He took her to the bedroom, opening drawers and showing her Gavin's clothes hanging in the closet. "My God," she gasped, eyes wide. "I've been searching for these for weeks. I wondered where his clothes were disappearing to. Has he been wearing a Rolex recently?" Jordan, noting her reaction, asked the question. Candace confirmed it, explaining that the watch was a gift from Gavin's management. Jordan then pulled a card from Kimberly's nightstand and handed it to her. As she read the note, her eyes filled with tears. "Is that his handwriting?" Jordan asked gently. "Yes," she whispered through her tears. "But wait, there's more." Jordan handed her the printed emails and activated the recorder. Candace sobbed as she read through the messages and listened to the audio recording from Friday. Jordan, his voice filled with sympathy, apologized, embracing her while trying to control his own emotions. "It's not your fault," she murmured, attempting to calm herself. "I had my suspicions for a while, but now I finally have proof. So, what do we do now?" She wiped her tears away. Jordan's voice was firm. "I'm filing for divorce." Candace nodded resolutely. "And once I see him, I'll be kicking him out," she added. Then, her expression shifted, and a smile crept onto her face. "I've got an idea," she said, her eyes brightening. "What if we help them move in together here?" Jordan paused, considering her suggestion before responding with a grin. "I like the way you think, but we'll need to act fast. They'll be back soon. Candace nodded and added, Gavin said he'll be away for a week after the convention. Jordan muttered, I'm sure Kimberly will find a reason to leave too, remembering their earlier conversation. You're right, he admitted, but I want her stuff out of my house immediately. Agreed, she replied firmly. Let's meet back here in 3 hours, Candace suggested. Sounds good, Jordan said. I'll pack up her things. I should be back on time. With that, they both left. Jordan couldn't help but notice Candace's petite, attractive frame and wondered how Gavin could have cheated on her. 3 hours later, they returned to the condo with cars full of bags containing the couple's belongings. They dumped everything into the second bedroom, which was sparsely furnished, not concerned about any fragile items. After all, Gavin and Kimberly would take hours to sort everything out. I wasn't too careful with his things, Candace said, her tone light-hearted. Jordan laughed. Same here, he said, giving her a high five. I'm starving, he added, eyeing her. Me too, she agreed. I'm craving a big, juicy burger, a cheesy one. That sounds perfect, Jordan replied. I know just the place. Want to join me? My treat. Candace smiled and nodded. Lead the way. They drove to a bar Jordan frequented with Raymond. As they parked, Candace eyed the building with caution. A bar? She asked, sounding skeptical. You'll love it, Jordan reassured her. They serve the best burgers here. Okay, she said, still unsure. But I hope you're not planning to ply me with alcohol and take advantage. Jordan chuckled. As tempting as that sounds, I wouldn't do that, he teased. Darn, she joked, laughing. Inside, they ordered beers, burgers, and fries. Between bites, they swapped stories about their failed marriages, realizing they had a lot in common. Meeting their ex-spouses in college, marrying young, but diverging when it came to having children. Jordan asked if she was a CPA, to which she replied she wasn't, but hoped to pursue it someday. He shared details about his own career and mentioned possible opportunities in his field. If you send me your resume, maybe we can help each other out, Jordan suggested. I can do that, Mr. Carter, she said with a playful smile, taking another bite of her burger. Just then, Jordan's phone rang. It was Kimberly calling. He answered, keeping his voice calm and neutral. Hello? Kimberly's slurred voice came through the phone, thick with alcohol. Hey, baby, she purred, the words dripping with a false sweetness. What are you up to? I'm just grabbing a burger at the bar, he replied, trying to keep the conversation casual. What about you? Her tone shifted with excitement. Guess what? She burst out, barely letting him get a word in before continuing. I won the top sales award. Congrats, he said, his voice flat and uninterested. Yeah, Kimberly responded, not noticing his lack of enthusiasm. And they want me to stay in Vegas next week to work with their agents. He immediately recognized it as a lie. That's awesome, he replied, forcing some enthusiasm into his voice. What about our anniversary on Wednesday? He asked, hoping she'd remember. I know, she said quickly. Maybe we can celebrate next weekend. No problem, he answered, trying to sound understanding. I get it. Your work is important. Wouldn't want you to miss such a big opportunity. What do you mean by that? She asked, her voice suddenly sharp. Nothing, he replied, dismissing her question. Just that our 10-year anniversary only happens once. But I understand your job is a priority. Don't worry about it. Yeah, work's important, she sighed. But I thought you'd be happy for me. I am, he insisted, lying through his teeth. Go ahead and work with your agents. I'll be fine. I love you, she said softly. Good, he replied, though the words felt empty. Me too. Bye. After the call ended, he turned to Candace, his face showing little emotion. That's that, he muttered. Candace shook her head in sympathy. She chose Gavin over your anniversary, she said quietly, placing a hand on his. Jordan's throat tightened. He couldn't believe it. Someone who barely knew him seemed to care more than his own wife. "What a disappointment," he said, barely able to keep his voice steady. "I'm sorry," Candace offered, her voice gentle. "Thanks," Jordan managed, attempting a smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. He fumbled for Jerry's business card and dialed the private number. "Jerry," Jordan said when the older man picked up. "It's Jordan Carter. Just spoke with Kimberly, and she says she'll be in Vegas for another week." "You think that's a lie?" Jerry asked, already catching on. "Not for a second," Jordan confirmed. "I've been working on your report, but I'll have my guys keep an eye on her and see what they find." "Got it," Jerry replied. "The conference wrapped up a few hours ago, and now they're apparently enjoying themselves. Most people are heading home tomorrow. Oh, and your wife and her lover spent the night together. I've got footage I think you'll want to see. I'll send it over, along with the report." "Great," Jordan said, his tone devoid of emotion. "Thanks." He hung up and looked at Candace. "Tomorrow, we'll get to the bottom of this," he said, his voice steady but cold. "My PI caught them together last night. He's sending over the video. Want to watch it with me?" "Not really," Candace admitted, her voice tight with discomfort. "But I feel like I should." Jordan nodded, understanding the need to face the truth. "Let's go to my place," he suggested. After paying the tab, they left the bar and drove to his house. Once in his office, Jordan's computer pinged. The video had arrived. "Do you want a drink before we start?" he asked, trying to offer some small comfort. "Sure, Cola, if you have it," Candace replied. "I'll grab 2, he said, getting up to fetch the drinks. When he returned, they sat together and began watching the video. On the screen, Kimberly and Gavin were caught in a series of intimate moments, their bodies tangled together in a passionate embrace. Jordan and Candace both stiffened, struggling to keep their emotions in check as they watched their spouses share what should have been private moments. The conversation on the video made it even harder to bear. "What do you think our spouses are doing right now?" Kimberly asked, a sly smile on her lips. "If I know Candace, she's probably watching some boring movie," Gavin answered, his tone dismissive. "Or buried in one of her dumb books." "Yeah," Kimberly agreed. "And I bet Jordan's glued to those endless spreadsheets or obsessing over stock reports." Gavin smirked. "You'd think he's out there trying to save the world. I mean, seriously, his dad's company sells tires. What's the big deal? So, what's your plan for after tomorrow's awards banquet?" Kimberly asked, her voice low and conspiratorial. "I'll just tell him they asked me to stay in Vegas to cover for the local reps," Kimberly said, confident in her lie. "He'll believe it." Gavin laughed. "Hell, he'll believe anything. I could tell him the moon's made of green cheese, and he'd buy it. By the time he figures it out, we'll be relaxing on a beach in Hawaii." Kimberly's eyes gleamed with excitement. "I can't wait to see you in that new bikini. You'll look incredible." Candace's anger finally erupted. "Hawaii?" she screamed, her face flushing red. "That idiot's taking her to Hawaii? I'll tear him apart." She paused, then added, "Sorry for calling your wife a floozy," her tone dripping with resentment. "Don't stress about it," he replied. "I'd probably say the same thing." They both turned their focus back to the screen. "But what about your anniversary? You really just going to let it slide?" "Honestly, Hawaii sounds a lot more tempting than a night at a steakhouse," she said, a subtle grin on her face. He nodded, assuring her that he would make it right. "Maybe I will, maybe I won't," she added carelessly. He glanced at her, shaking his head. "You're tough, you know that?" "Yeah, well," she shrugged. "It's just our 10th anniversary. There will be others." "Who cares? In this moment I really need you," he said, his tone serious, and their attention shifted. Jordan paused the video. "I've seen enough," he said. "How about you?" "More than enough," she whispered, tears beginning to fall. "I'm seeing a divorce lawyer on Monday," he told her. "You want to come with me? Is that all right?" "Of course," he reassured her. Candace's sobs grew louder as tears flowed freely. Jordan put his arm around her, offering what comfort he could. Despite his own emotional turmoil, he stayed strong, focused on her. "Would it bother you if I stayed here tonight?" she asked quietly. "No funny stuff." "I just need to be held," she clarified. "Stay as long as you need," he replied. "Thank you," she said, her voice breaking. "I can't believe I spent so many years on him. I believed every lie he told me." Jordan nodded, feeling her pain deeply. He led her upstairs to the master bedroom, finding an old t-shirt for her to wear. While she changed in the bathroom, he slipped into his pajamas and climbed into bed. When she returned, wearing the oversized shirt, Jordan found himself momentarily struck. He had always admired Kimberly's legs, but Candace's were even more elegant. She slid under the covers with a soft smile. "What's the matter? Never seen a woman's legs before?" "Not ones as beautiful as yours," he complimented. "Flattery will get you everywhere," she teased. He pulled her close, inhaling her scent as she snuggled against him, placing her hand on his chest. "Did you know you're the first woman I've shared a bed with besides my wife in more than 10 years? He confessed. "And you're the only man I've been with besides my husband," she said. They locked eyes, holding their gaze for what seemed like an eternity before drifting into a peaceful sleep. The next morning, they woke up tangled in each other's arms. "Good morning, sleepyhead," she whispered softly. "Take your time." "No need to rush on my account," she added as he started to get out of bed. "Good morning, beautiful," he responded. "I'll be quick," he said, heading to the bathroom. It was difficult, considering his current state, but he managed. When he returned, he found Candace already in the kitchen, making scrambled eggs and bacon. The clock showed it was 8:30 a.m. She was wearing his old t-shirt, and he paused for a moment, admiring the sight. It reminded him of the mornings when Kimberly used to cook breakfast for them. "Wow, that smells amazing," he said. "Hope you don't mind me taking over your kitchen," she said with a playful grin. "Not at all," he replied. "I honestly can't remember the last time someone made me breakfast." "Didn't Kimberly cook for you?" she asked. "She used to," he nodded. "But that stopped a while ago. She said it took too much time, with all the clients she had to see." "Ugh, typical," Candace muttered. "Exactly," he agreed. The delicious aroma of bacon filled the air as she set a large plate in front of him. He dug in eagerly, as if he hadn't eaten in days. "Wow, that was incredible," he said after finishing. "Do you cook like this every morning?" "When I can," she replied, just as his phone rang. It was Jerry. "Hey, Jerry," he answered. "Working Sundays now?" "More than I'd like," Jerry chuckled. "I've got an update for you. Your wife and her lover boarded their flight from Las Vegas just before 6 this morning. They had a short layover in Los Angeles, and now they're on their way to Honolulu. They'll land in about 5 hours. I've got the flight details if you need them," Jerry continued. "Got it," Jordan said, scribbling down the details. "They're on American Airlines Flight 31, Jerry added. "I've got someone in Honolulu ready to track them when they land." "Thanks, Jerry," Jordan said, jotting down the flight number. After ending the call, he turned toward Candace. "All right," he began. "Here's the latest. They're headed to Hawaii." As the aircraft ascended, Kimberly settled into her seat, watching as the world outside became smaller with every passing second. She stared out the window, her gaze drifting over the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean below. This was the moment, she realized. With a subtle shift of her head, she noticed Gavin beside her, already sound asleep. Closing her eyes for a brief moment, she allowed herself to reflect on the last decade of her life. A pang of guilt washed over her, fleeting yet sharp, as she recalled betraying her husband's trust. Deep down, she recognized this as yet another in a series of bad decisions. Still, she justified it to herself. She hoped that her secret would remain hidden, that Jordan would never find out. Perhaps their marriage could endure, and they could grow old together, peacefully retiring. The first mistake she had made was telling Jordan that she couldn't have children. In truth, she could, but the idea of motherhood simply didn't appeal to her. Motherhood was something many cherished, but not her. So, she told Jordan that medical issues prevented her from conceiving, citing the need for a tubal ligation. He accepted her explanation and agreed. However, when complications with the IUD arose, causing her pelvic pain and headaches, she stopped using them and switched to birth control pills combined with the rhythmic method to avoid intimacy during the fertile period. Despite these precautions, she found herself pregnant twice. The first time was with Jordan. Terrified of his reaction, which would expose both her earlier lie and her reluctance to have children, she quietly arranged for an abortion and paid for it herself. Fortunately, they kept separate accounts, though they had a shared account for household expenses. They had agreed that she would contribute 10% of her earnings to that joint account, but she manipulated that arrangement for her own benefit. She could have easily paid for the procedure without Jordan ever finding out, but she chose to keep it private. The second pregnancy occurred about 6 months ago, this time with Gavin. She told him everything that had happened, and once again chose the same course of action, paying for the procedure privately, hoping Jordan would remain unaware. Shortly thereafter, her affair with Gavin began. For the first 7 years of her marriage, she had remained faithful to Jordan. But everything changed when she met a charming and wealthy client. In an instant, she made a decision that would alter her life forever. They shared a passionate and intense encounter in a lavish home she was showing, and in return, he purchased the property. Such moments were rare, occurring maybe 10 times over the next 18 months. Eventually, she realized other women were indulging in the same arrangements. Though guilt occasionally crept in, she rationalized it. If others could do it without consequence, why shouldn't she? It didn't affect her love for Jordan, and besides, what he didn't know wouldn't harm him. But then there was Gavin, and everything shifted. He was everything Jordan wasn't. Where Jordan was careful and methodical, Gavin was spontaneous and reckless. Jordan's life, both personal and professional, was meticulously planned. He worked at his father's tire business, steadily progressing toward becoming CFO and eventually CEO. Gavin, on the other hand, seemed to live in the moment, without any clear path for his future. Their intimacy was different, too. Jordan always focused on her pleasure, whereas Gavin's approach was more aggressive, leaving her with a raw, visceral sense of intensity. Their encounters began in quiet motels or homes she was trying to sell, but over time, she grew more anxious about being caught, whether by Jordan or by Gavin's wife, Candace. After Jordan began to question their relationship, she pulled back from Gavin, attempting to refocus her attention on her husband. Yet her resolve didn't last, and Gavin reached out, seeking reconciliation. Still, the fear of Jordan discovering the affair weighed heavily on her. To prevent that, she made the decision to buy her own apartment, creating a private space for herself and Gavin. Despite her growing attraction to Gavin, she still held on to lingering feelings for Jordan. To maintain both financial stability and the secrecy of her affair, they agreed to file separate tax returns, allowing her to benefit from tax breaks while continuing her relationship with Gavin. She convinced herself that it was the best of both worlds. All of these decisions led her to plan a week-long trip to Hawaii with Gavin, cleverly disguising it as a vacation with her husband after a corporate meeting. Meanwhile, Gavin had informed his wife Candace about his travel plans. This was nothing out of the ordinary. Kimberly, for her part, told Jordan she was going to Las Vegas for the week, confident that he would believe her without question. Though she regretted missing their 10th wedding anniversary, she reassured herself that she would make it up to him later, all the while keeping her secret firmly intact. She smiled as her thoughts wandered while gazing out at the deep blue ocean below. Gavin had bought her a bold bikini for the trip, eager to see her undress and savor the pleasures of the beach. The thought stirred a wave of desire within her, tempting her to act on impulse right then and there. She considered sneaking off to the bathroom later for a private rendezvous. Glancing at her phone, half expecting a message from Jordan, she remembered that he preferred calls or face-to-face conversations. A sly grin spread across her face. Then, a sudden jolt and the change in the engine's sound signaled turbulence. As the plane dropped, the shift in altitude became evident. A sense of unease spread through the cabin as the seriousness of the situation hit her. The pressure in her seat increased as they descended rapidly. "Oh God," she thought, a wave of resignation washing over her. "This is it. We're going down. I'm going to die." Oxygen masks descended from the ceiling. The passengers on board, Gavin among them, were screaming in sheer panic as the flight attendants struggled to prepare them for what seemed like an inevitable catastrophe. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she cast a final, tearful glance at her phone, steeling herself for the heart-wrenching choice that was coming her way. Meanwhile, Jordan and Candace finished their breakfast and cleaned up the last of the dishes before returning to their seats to delve into a conversation about their unfaithful partners. Jordan couldn't help but admire Candace's sharp mind and analytical nature, feeling a growing sense of closeness to her that had been missing from his own relationship with Kimberly for quite some time. As he returned to the table with a fresh cup of coffee, his phone buzzed with an incoming call from Kimberly. He answered, placing the phone on speaker. Immediately, Kimberly's frantic voice broke through, distorted by the overwhelming noise and panic in the background. "Jordan!" she cried, barely audible over the chaos. "Kimberly, what's happening?" he asked, straining to catch her words. "The plane." "It's going down," she responded, her voice crackling before the call abruptly ended. Jordan and Candace exchanged a stunned look, and he frantically tried to call her back, but it went straight to voicemail. In a panic, he turned to Candace. "Can you try reaching Gavin?" he asked. Candace didn't hesitate. She quickly grabbed her phone from her bag and dialed Gavin's number, but it too went unanswered, going directly to voicemail. Jordan rushed to his home office and booted up his computer, hoping to find some answers. After some searching, he located the airline's contact number and dialed it. After an agonizing wait, he finally got through to someone who confirmed that they were investigating reports of a plane crash. He provided his contact details, as well as Candace's, Kimberly's, and Gavin's, and was promised they would be informed when more information became available. With nothing else to go on, Jordan figured it would be at least an hour before they received any updates. The two of them moved into the living room and switched on the TV, hoping for some breaking news. Jordan flipped through the channels, but there was nothing. Still reeling from the terrifying phone call, he glanced down at his phone, silently praying for any sign of good news. Finally, a news report flashed on the screen, announcing that an American Airlines flight en route to Honolulu had crashed into the Pacific Ocean, though no further details were provided. Candace's hand flew to her mouth in shock. "Oh my God," she whispered. Jordan pulled her into a tight embrace, silently praying that Kimberly was okay. Despite their troubled marriage, the thought of losing her was unbearable. About an hour later, the phone rang. Jordan muted the TV and picked up. "Mr. Carter?" a woman's voice asked. "Yes, this is he," Jordan responded. "I'm very sorry to inform you that your wife's flight has crashed," the woman said. "We don't have any additional details at the moment, but we will update you as soon as we know more." "Thank you," Jordan managed to say, his voice shaking before he ended the call. Jordan and Candace held each other tightly, both of them on the verge of tears. Moments later, Candace's phone rang with the same tragic news. Not long after, Jordan's father called. This was typical. His parents often reached out during crises like this. "Hey, Jordan," his father's voice came through. "Hi, Dad, how are you?" Jordan asked, trying to steady his voice. "Just got back from church. Did you hear about the crash?" his father asked. "Yes, I saw," Jordan replied. "It's awful," his father said with a sigh. "By the way, how's Kimberly? Wasn't she coming back from Vegas?" "She's not doing well, Dad," Jordan said quietly. She was on that plane that crashed. His father gasped in shock. What? Why was she going to Hawaii without you? She was with her boyfriend, Jordan admitted. Oh my God, his father exclaimed. I'm so sorry, son. Take a week off, sort things out. Let Mike know if there's anything we can do. Just call me if you need anything, okay? Jordan replied, his gratitude evident. He ended the call, his mind swirling with mixed emotions. On one hand, the sorrow of likely losing Kimberly weighed heavily on him, but on the other, an intense rage began to build up inside. The betrayal was unbearable, and he cursed himself for not confronting her sooner. Strangely, though, he didn't feel anxiety over the possibility of divorce. Instead, the thought of having to manage Kimberly's final affairs, her apartment, for example, hit him harder than he expected. Damn, he muttered. He glanced at Candace, wondering how she would handle everything. What would her next steps be? Then an idea suddenly struck him. He walked over to Candace. What if you sold your apartment and moved in with me? He proposed. She looked up, her eyes filling with tears. Are you serious? She asked softly. Absolutely, he replied. There's a spare room upstairs, and with everything we're going to face, maybe we can help each other through this. After a brief pause, Candace nodded. Okay, but there's one condition. What's that? Jordan asked, intrigued. That I share your bed, she said, her voice calm yet determined. Jordan's mind raced. The speed at which everything was happening left him reeling. But deep down, he knew this moment was unfolding rapidly, and he was ready to take the leap. He pushed aside any hesitation. Sure, he replied without a second thought. It's been a long time since I've felt this at ease with anyone. For the first time in years, Jordan felt a deep sense of fulfillment. Is that all right? She asked softly. More than all right, he assured her with a warm smile. Then it's settled, she responded, finalizing her decision. I'll pack my things and return by tonight, she said as she turned to leave. Jordan nodded in acknowledgement, replying, I'll be here waiting. Once she had left, he picked up the phone and dialed Lucy, a colleague of Kimberly's. Hello? Came Lucy's voice. It's Jordan Carter, he introduced himself. Oh, hey Jordan, Lucy greeted him. How's Hawaii? Jordan asked casually. I'm not sure, Lucy answered, her tone light. I've heard it's stunning this time of year. Why do you ask? Her voice grew more curious, sensing something important in his question. Kimberly mentioned you two were headed there after the company meeting. I figured you were already on your way, Jordan said. Actually, Kimberly went, but not with me, he clarified. She went with Gavin. What? Lucy's voice rose, clearly taken aback. Yes, Jordan confirmed, but neither of them made it. The plane they were on crashed in the Pacific earlier today. You might have seen it on the news, he added quietly. Lucy gasped, her voice faltering. Oh no. Do you know if she made it? She asked, her words trembling. I don't think anyone survived, Jordan responded grimly. I'm so sorry. Lucy offered a soft, sympathetic reply. Please accept my condolences as well. The company does offer life insurance to all employees, she said gently. I'll handle the paperwork, but I'll need information from the airline. Can you get it? I'll gather everything I can, Jordan promised. But I do have one question. What is it? Lucy asked. Were you aware of Kimberly and Gavin's affair? Jordan asked, his tone calm but firm. I had my suspicions, Lucy admitted. There were rumors, but nothing concrete. We try to avoid gossiping about personal matters at work. I understand, Jordan replied, his voice even. Well, that's all for now. I'll be in touch. Thank you, Jordan. Once again, my condolences, Lucy said, before the call ended. Later that evening, as Jordan and Candace sat together watching TV, the news broke about the crash. The report revealed that a crew member aboard a nearby cargo plane had captured the final moments of the doomed flight. The The footage showed the aircraft diving nose first toward the ocean, disintegrating upon impact. The nearby cargo ship had altered its course to assist with the search for survivors. While several bodies were retrieved, no one had survived the crash. Among the items recovered were personal belongings of Kimberly and Gavin, though their bodies were not among the remains found. In the following months, life for Jordan and Candace was a whirlwind of change. Candace moved in with Jordan, selling her house, while Jordan took on the responsibility of Kimberly's apartment. Though the apartment held no sentimental value, he quickly donated all its contents to Goodwill, which accepted them gratefully. Eventually, he sold the property, recovering Kimberly's initial investment. Jordan and Candace received a $500,000 insurance payout from Acme Real Estate for the loss of their spouses. Without hesitation, they moved to erase all traces of Kimberly from their lives. Photos were discarded, mementos packed away, and even the furniture, especially the bed, was replaced. Family members took whatever they wanted, and the remaining possessions, including 2 cars, were either sold, donated, or scrapped. Jordan also dealt with the tedious process of closing Kimberly's bank accounts. Months passed, and Jordan eventually received a check for around $25,000. Shortly after, lawyers reached out to him and Candace, hoping to capitalize on the tragedy. Further investigation revealed that the plane's crew had misinterpreted critical warnings and made catastrophic decisions. The aircraft had descended at a rapid 12,000 feet per minute, hitting the ocean at roughly 135 miles per hour in less than 3 minutes. Jordan couldn't help but imagine the terror Kimberly must have felt during those final moments. He pictured her grappling with the horrifying realization that she was plummeting to her death, unable to escape. Despite the overwhelming sadness, Jordan also felt a sense of finality. At least it was over. The airline reached a settlement with the families of those lost in the crash, offering $75,000 to each. For Jordan and Candace, the total compensation came to over $600, and after taxes, they were left with a substantial sum. Because neither Kimberly nor Gavin's bodies were recovered, no formal funeral was held. Instead, Jordan and Candace organized small memorial services for their families. They didn't shed tears for the spouses they had lost. 3 months later, Candace left her job and moved in with Jordan permanently, and by that time, they were deeply in love. One evening, as they dined at a local Texas roadhouse, Jordan took a deep breath and knelt on one knee. He proposed to Candace, and she happily accepted, causing nearby diners to applaud. "It's about time you made an honest woman out of me," she teased him. "Why?" Jordan asked, his voice filled with curiosity. She revealed that the reason was because he was about to become a father. Overcome with joy, Jordan showered her face with loving kisses. "I love you more than anything in the world," he said, his voice full of emotion. "And my love for you is even deeper," she responded with a warm smile. "But there is one small request I need to make." "Curious?" he asked. "What is it?" With sincerity, she replied, "Please, I beg you, don't ask me to travel by plane." Laughing softly, Jordan drew her into his arms, wrapping her in a reassuring hug. "Don't worry, my love," he comforted her. "His story has come to an end. What's your opinion? Share it in the comments, my friend. And if you liked this story, check out other exciting videos on my channel. I'll say goodbye until the next video. See you.